Welcome back, guys. This will be the last video on this outboard. This is my Honda bf5. I actually swapped it for some spearfishing gear. It just needs a little bit of work. Going to be changing the impeller and the gaskets and then doing the gearbox. All I do is just get it on a stand, tilt it up so it's easy to work on. Then there's two bolts here. You just got to undo them and that just drops the gearbox. I think it's an 8mm. That's one. It's quite an easy engine to work on because it's quite light. That's the second bolt. We now got to undo the gear rod. Let's just simply pop this little rubber cap off and it'll open up and you'll see a bolt. If we push forward, pulls the rod up, pull back, it pushes it back. That just goes in force and reverse, as you can see. For me to be able to undo the bolt though, I need it to be in the forward gear. Just it lifts it up so it gives me access. Pretty much just loosen it off. Then voila, that's your gearbox taken off. Pretty simple, pretty easy. So now we just got to undo the 4 bolts that hold the impeller housing on. I always re-grease these bolts when I put them back in, just to make your life a hell of a lot easier next year when you change the impeller. And people do say at the end of the season just change the impeller because you don't ever want it to break when you're out at sea. Casing just lifts off and the impeller should be sat inside that. There it is. Just remember what way it's, you see how it's bent. Just remember what way it bends round and that's just how you want to put your new one back in. Usually has a metal plate in between the two gaskets, as you can see. My one had a load of brown crust on it, so I'm just going to sand it off just so it seals it a bit better. Now it's just a case of putting it back together. Put a fresh gasket on. Then it's the metal plate. Another gasket. And then it's the impeller and then the housing. Just remember what way it spins. Like I said, just remember what way your impeller faces so when you put your new one back on, it's the right way. There's only one way you can put this impeller on, so you can't really go wrong there. See how it didn't go on and now it does go on, so it's fairly simple, self-explanatory. Some people grease the housing up just so the impeller slips in. I do grease it up because it does help. And all I do is just sit the housing on top, spin it, and then it all slots in together. Pretty simple. Line it all up. In this case, I'll put the 4 bolts back on. I did drop the gearbox oil before this, so I will be showing how just to top that up. That's quite easy in the next part of this video. But no, I picked this outboard up. I swapped it for some spearfishing gear. It needed a little bit of work, but no, it was worth it. There we are, just tighten the 4 bolts up and it's done. Case of put it back together now. I did give it a good clean, all the waterways and stuff. There was a lot of scuzz in there, so it was worth it. While you've got it off, you might as well. Slot it all back in, back together. Make sure it all lines up. Put the 2 bolts in that you removed earlier. I will be getting out doing some sib fishing with this motor and some diving off of the sib. It's just we've had some horrendous weather lately. So I thought I'd just use the time to get this engine fixed and ready to go. Make sure they're all pinched tight nicely. Now we've just got to sort the forward and reverse rod out, get that tightened back up. Just remember that your lever is in forwards, so make sure your gearbox rod is in forwards as well, just lift it up. Always check it before you put it back, give it a couple of wiggles, make sure it's nice and tight and that the gear's engaged properly. You won't really know till you start it up. But yeah, it's just a little bit of tweaking if it's wrong. Just take that off, loosen it up, sort it out. That should be in forward now. See how it's slipped then? I need to tighten it up. Put your cap back on, and that's it. That's how you change an impeller and the gaskets. Now we're going to do the gearbox oil. That's the drainage one. And that's the one you undo when you go to fill it up, which you'll see in a minute. Pretty much just a flathead. Undo that one. There's like a plastic washer. Replace them as well, it's worthwhile. Undo that, and there should just be a little bit of oil drip out of this. If you're going to drop your oil, put a tray under it so it catches it all. Like I said, I've already dropped mine previously, so this was empty for a while. Give it all a good clean. I just use the gear lube from Quicksilver, just what they recommended. This is just a nozzle that helps me fill it up easily. So all you do is just push that yellow hose to the bottom hole and pump it. This just helps get all the air out of the gearbox as the oil rises. You'll see when it's full that the oil will start dribbling out of that top hole, and that's enough. You don't want to put too much in because then you'll burst your washers and gaskets and the pressure will be too much. See how it's coming out now? That's all you need to do, that just means it's full. I always give the proper spin, just get the oil all in between, and then give it another pump. Give it a quick clean. Get the top screw in. It's a bit fiddly, it is helpful if you've got a second pair of hands, but it's doable on your own. Tighten her up. The bolt to the right of it, that's your wash one, and that's instead of using the muffs when you wash out and clear your engine after using it. Not many people use it. Now this is the tricky bit, because obviously oil's going to come out, but not a lot. Just try and get it in, get the bolt in as quick as you can really. Like I said, it's not hard. tighten her up, and then it's done. When you drop the oil and it comes out really milky, discoloured, you may have a leak where water's getting in, so it would pay to get that looked at. Doesn't always mean it, but it does help if you just get it checked. So yeah, a bottle of oil probably cost me 25 quid. The impeller and the gaskets probably about 30 quid. So for 50 quid you can do this all on your own. It is simple, and you can see it's quite simple. Cheers guys.